Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever the case may be in your part of the world. I'm just an emo Halliwell. Making this video because Monograph says that you may need a license to get on the internet in the future. And I kind of agree with him. I really kind of agree with him. And let's get into it. All right, so here we go.
Here's the thing that you can look forward to when the internet comes back. Here's what you can look forward to. You can look forward to, in a lot of cases, in a lot of countries, they're going to require you to hold a license for blogging. Isn't that neat? It's going to be a lot of fun. In other words, whatever state that you're in, or whichever municipality rules you in conjunction with the FCC, which is the Federal Communications Commission, you're going to have to apply to get a license in order to blog. You're going to have to cover all the topics that you cover or that you might cover, and then you'll be issued a license. This nonsense about just carte blanche blogging, those days are numbered.
All right, so there you go. That was just the one quick clip that I wanted to, you know, put in there with Monograph in regards to this. So, yeah, do I think the FCC is going to require you to have a license someday to be on the internet? Absolutely. Why wouldn't they? The government tries to control every aspect of your life, okay? They want to control your life. And now it's getting to the point where not only do they want to take um, your Second Amendment away, but they're doing everything in their power to take your First Amendment away. I mean, cop watches and auditors find this out all the time, right? How many times has a auditor got out to film the police and the rights have been violated? See, and they know they can't directly circumvent somebody's fucking freedom of speech, right? They know they can't block you from saying what you want to do because they can't fully block the First Amendment. So what do? They come up with saying, "Oh, you're being disorderly. We got to arrest you under disorderly conduct." Okay, that's just a way of them trumping the First Amendment. Now, do I believe that someday you're going to need a license to get on the internet? Absolutely. I 100% positively believe that you're going to need a license to get on the internet. I believe that's going to happen someday. Without a doubt, without fail. And I strongly believe it. I think it's going to happen. Um, because why do the government why will the government eventually do this? Why will the new world order eventually do this? Because they don't want you just saying things that they don't want you to say. There's things in the fucking roll it up your sleever that can kill you. Anybody who took the roll it up your sleever during the 19 Weave and Wiggle event, okay? There are channels out there that are proving that there's dangerous things in the roll it up your sleever. You know, if you had a license on the internet, you tried to discuss those things, the FCC would go, revote. You're not allowed to talk about that. When you want to say a certain thing that happened on what you call when you need emergency help. If somebody was to say that the same three numbers you call when you need an ambulance or you need the fire department in a hurry, for those people that like to say that event that happened in September was an inside job, those are the type of people that will get their license revoked when this happens. People that come on here, people on here like Alex Jones, that said a certain thing ending with hook was a hoax, and now he's been sued, or was it, or the thing ending in hook was an inside job, so now he's been sued and lost all of his fortune, lost all of his money, because, right? Because the government doesn't just want you to come on the internet and talk about this thing. So either two things are going to happen. They're going to license the internet where they'll restrict you from saying certain things. Okay? And then when you want to talk about certain subjects, I believe they might even go a step further. Instead of pulling your license right away for a, talking filthy and dirty about the government, I believe they might even take your audio out on some videos. So when you want to talk about certain things being an inside job, in your blog, all of a sudden a message pops up at the bottom of the screen and says, restricted audio by the government, and now you're sitting in your video like this because the government doesn't want you to say certain. So I believe they're going to have the possibility of even muting your audio of what you say in your blogs. And then if we repeatedly do it, then they'll probably take your license away and say, no, we don't need, because, the whole internet licensing thing, if they want to do it, we're not saying they're doing it, but we speculate that someday the internet may require you to have a license to be here. Why would they do that? To stop you from saying certain things they don't want you to say, right? So, in my opinion, do I believe that's a possibility in the future? Licensed internet, where if you start talking anti-government, they just reach over, mute your audio, and nobody hears what the fuck you said? Okay. Do I believe that's possible? Absolutely. See, because you had people like Bill Cooper, silenced by the government, was shot because they didn't like what he said. You had the people in Waco, silenced by the government, okay? Because they didn't like what Waco stood for. And we all know those people got murdered, right? They got red robbed by the government. And the government doesn't want me to say that. So when the licensing thing comes out, that last few seconds of video could probably be muted out, and a flag would come up saying, oh, we restricted this guy's content. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. The government's got to control everything. The last thing the government wants you to do is come on the internet and speak freely. You hear Monograph say this all the time. If you can't speak freely, you're simply not free. And he's 1,000 times right. So why wouldn't they require a license for you to blog on the internet? Do I think it's a possibility of it happening? Yeah, because, like I said, Bill Cooper mentioned things that he shouldn't have mentioned, and the government took him out. People like Alex Jones, the government doesn't want on the air. Okay? People in the truther movement. People like me and Von Helton back in the day that said Barack Obama shouldn't be president because he wasn't born in this country. All of us on the birther movement. Okay? The government doesn't want that shit out. Everybody's saying that the call that you call when you need an ambulance, the thing that happened in September, when people say that was an inside job. It had to be an inside job because why would Building 7 just all of a sudden fall down to the ground when no planes hit it. It must be an inside job, right? The government doesn't want people talking freely like that, okay? So do I believe that someday they're going to require a license for you to get on the internet? Absolutely. Because I'll give you another example of government control. I'll give you another. This is just in my opinion. I have no way of proving this, but I'm gonna just tell you my true feeling on it. Okay. Right now, every radio station in the U.S., every TV station, whether it's over the air or if it's on cable or on satellite radio, all that shit is regulated by the FCC. Right? It's regulated by the FCC. Now, you have a network out there. Back in the day, it was called True TV. Okay? Now, we know True TV is a cable network. I haven't been following it lately, so I don't know if it changed names, but everybody remembers it when it was called True TV. Before it was True TV, it was the original Court TV. Okay, so everybody knows which which channel I'm talking about. Okay, so we all know that True TV was on cable and satellite providers. It didn't have a tower where it streamed the fucking signal to everybody's TV. It wasn't a terrestrial or a broadcast station. It's only on the internet. It was only, well, no, I almost said on the internet only. It was only on providers like cable and satellite, right? Well, even though they're on providers like cable and satellite, they still have to have an FCC license to broadcast. Okay? Now I'm going to talk about how I think a certain show was silenced by the government, in my fucking opinion. Okay? So, anyway, as we know, the original Court TV folded. It became True TV, right? It became True TV Network. One of the shows that after this happened was called Jesse Ventura Conspiracy Theory. And everybody was tuning in. Everybody was supporting the show. It had high ratings. But all of a sudden, after 6 episodes, it disappeared. Why did it fucking disappear after 6 or 7 episodes? I think it was 6. Maybe it was more. I'll have to look that up. Because he was talking about the code for when you need an ambulance, the thing that happened in September. He was talking about HARP, the big antenna array in Alaska, and some of the things the government's doing dirty with that antenna array. He was talking about how certain things were inside jobs, and then out of nowhere, the show disappeared. Right? The fucking show disappeared. Why do I think it disappeared? Because I think the FCC went to True TV and said, hey, if you don't get rid of Jesse Ventura, we're going to pull your fucking license and we're going to get rid of your TV network. That's what I believe happened. Okay? That's why I believe the conspiracy theory with Jesse Ventura, when it was a hot show with only a few episodes, all of a sudden just fucking disappeared and was annihilated. Why? Because the show is getting too close to the government's dirty deeds. Okay? They were getting too fucking close to exposing shit. And I believe that's what happened. I believe the powers that be contacted the FCC, and the FCC contacted True TV Network and said, you either get rid of him or we're going to take your channel out, and we're not going to take it out. We're not going to take it out to lunch. We're going to take you off the air. Or option B, because the government doesn't like it when you talk dirty about them and expose their secrets and say, especially when you call things inside jobs. They don't like that. Okay? They don't like that. And we have proven time and time and time again that the government will silence people that do this shit, like they did with Bill Cooper. So, on the other side of the coin, I believe not only was True TV threatened, get rid of this guy or we'll pull your fucking license and you can't be on the TV anymore. And second, they probably got a hold of Jesse Ventura and threatened him. Hey, Jesse, do you remember what the government did to Bill Cooper? William Cooper? Right? They took him out, right? Remember how the government tried to take out Wendy Riva, right? You know how the government took out people in Waco, right? You don't want that to happen to you, do you? So we think you better quit your show right now. Okay? So, but I don't think Jesse Ventura is that much of a pussy. Okay? I don't think the threat, I don't think the threatening of him would fucking persuade the guy into quitting. I don't think it. So I think it's the other thing. I think the network was threatened with the loss of their license. I think the network was threatened that if you don't get rid of that show, you will no longer have True TV. So what did they do? They called Jesse Ventura into the office, in my opinion, and said, well, we can't carry your show anymore. We're about to lose our license if we continue to have you on the show. Or they threatened him. You decide. Okay? You fucking decide which one of the two things the government did. So do I think you're going to need a license someday to use the internet? Yeah. Because they're going to want it controlled. Okay? When you want to talk about things being inside jobs, and you want to talk about government conspiracies, and you want to talk about the government doing underhanded and deceitful things, you're damn right eventually someday the fucking government will require a license to broadcast on the internet. So in that money clip you just heard, I believe he's right. That someday the internet's going to go down, someday the power grid's going to go down, and then eventually when it comes back up, they're going to be like, oh, for your protection, you're going to need a license to do what I'm doing right now, just talking on YouTube. And then again, when the licensing thing happens, they'll either fucking mute your audio of your video during segments of shit they don't want you to say, or they'll just revoke your fucking license automatically. Remember like that guy in Lethal Weapon 2? Your license has just been revoked. Oh, you want to talk about how Building 7 in a certain event in September was an inside job. Sorry, email, we just revoked your license for that. You want to talk about how the government shot Bill Cooper? We're going to revoke your license for that. You want to talk about how the people were murdered in Waco? License revoked for that. You want to talk about the rolling up your sleeve or having razor blades in it to cut your insides of your body up, right? Everybody knows I did that video on my other channel, right? The truth about the rolling up your sleeve, right? That would, in my case, that would be Okay, email, your license is now revoked. Okay? You want to come on YouTube and say, because I used to say this back in the day. I don't know, I don't believe it like I used to, but I used to say it back in the day that the only good cop was a dead cop. Back when I got in my fucking auditing days. Okay? Well, I come on the internet and say the only good cop is a dead cop. The government comes in and says, well, email, that was dirty, license revoked. Okay? So, yeah, they want to control what you can and what you cannot say on the internet. Do I believe it's going to happen someday? Absolutely. Because they don't want anybody just coming on the internet, running their fucking mouth, and exposing their dirty deeds. Done dirty, dirty deed. Okay? So do I believe that the government will silence people? Do I believe that the government will make people get a license? Yeah. And when Alex Jones wants to talk about a fucking particular shooting being a hoax, the one that he just got sued for, the government will say, Alex Jones, you were naughty, license revoked, you're not allowed on the internet. Half the shit that InfoWars does, they would be the first ones not to get licensed on an internet licensing system. If Bill Cooper was around, he'd be still around. He'd be another one that would have his fucking, would either not be issued an FCC license to get on the internet, or he would get it revoked. But for speaking his mind. Okay? Some of the shit that Von Helton says, some of the shit that Monty says, those guys would get their license revoked by the government too. Okay? Because they don't want you to speak freely. And it all comes down to what Monograph says in every video. If you can't speak freely, you're simply not free. Do I believe that the internet is going to be controlled? Absolutely. No doubt in my mind. So, is the FCC going to be licensing the internet here in this country in the future? As of immediately, no. But is it a possibility in the future? Yes. But like I said, I strongly believe that True TV was threatened to get rid of Jesse Ventura. Or Jesse Ventura was threatened with being taken out. Like Bill Cooper was. Because why would a hit show all of a sudden just go bloop and disappear if the government didn't have a hand in that? So think about it. If the station that Jesse Ventura was on, True TV, can have the FCC come in and say, get rid of the fucking guy or lose your license. What makes you think they can't do that to your internet provider? Because again, your internet provider is a fucking communication device is a communication service or device or whatever you want to call it in the United States, which is regulated by the fucking FCC, right? So I'll throw a name out there that doesn't exist because I don't want to really say the fucking internet that I'm on. But about 10 or 15 years ago, we had a cable company called Adelphia, right? And it's changed hands several times from then, but we'll use a defunct company here. So let's say emo is on the fucking internet, And he's talking, he's bashing the government, and he's talking about inside jobs and all this other shit. And the FCC decides, well, we get emo's getting too big. I mean, I'm just putting myself in the shoes of Alex Jones, and for a hypothetical analogy here. So I got a big network like, yeah, Alex Jones. I'm exposing the government. What makes you think the FCC can't call up Adobe and say, either make emo's ISP disappear, or we're going to make your cable company disappear? And which one do you think's gonna? Which one do you think's gonna cost the Adobe more money? Getting rid of email and making my IP disappear, or the FCC shutting down Adobe's license and the whole fucking cable company loses a couple million subscribers? Which do you think they're gonna do to protect your ass? They're gonna send me. They're gonna turn my internet off and say, to basically send me a letter saying, well, the government email says you're doing naughty things. We can't provide you internet no more. So, of course, they're going to silence the truther movement because they don't want to lose millions of customers, because one of their customers is going on the internet talking about inside jobs and exposing 51 and fucking exposing HARP and saying that a certain thing in Connecticut was a hoax, and there was actors and all that shit being arranged, and shit like that, like Alex Jones was doing, right? Now, I'm not saying that me personally, I'm not commenting on that incident in Connecticut. I'm just using the incident in Connecticut compared to Alex Jones, which what the shit that they don't want on the internet. Okay. Other people that don't want on the internet are people like the John Birch Society. Now, Von Helton has talked about the John Birch Society in many of his videos. And there's a video out there called Waco the Big Lie by the John Birch Society, where it shows the tank driving into the building, and as it's backing up, it's shooting flames into the building. Okay? And the government was exposed by the John Birch Society of starting that fucking fire, right? That's another organization. They'll go to Adobe Cable and say, we can't have these John Birch people on the internet. They're trying to make us look like murders for what we did in Waco. We gotta silence them. We gotta take them off the internet. And the next thing you know, the John Birch Society disappears off the internet. Info Snacks disappears off the internet. People like Dabu7 get knocked off the internet. Right? If you don't think that can happen, you better get your head out of the ass, because I'm telling you that someday you may need a fucking license just to come on YouTube. Because they don't want people speaking freely like this. There's another guy who talks about politics and all this other shit on the internet. His name is Bo, the fifth column. He comes on the internet. Hey, it's Bo again. Okay, I found his videos because one of my trolls is fucking with Bo. Okay, I found him on one of the troll channels, and I started following him. And Bo gets into some of the things, some controversial things. They're not going to let Bo, the fifth columnist, stay on the internet either. You know, just recently the government started fucking with another YouTuber by the name of I almost said Dutch Souls. Dutch Sense, okay? Government's fucking with him right now, trying to get him off the internet and shit. He's a friend of Moneygrass, okay? So don't think for 1 minute that you're safe to come on the internet and run your fucking mouth. Eventually, they're gonna put a stop to it. Eventually, they're gonna put a license on video blogging. I can see it coming. And when we reach those days, the government will still get. And if you really pissing the government off, they'll either fucking take you out like they took out William Cooper, or Bill Cooper as he was called, or the government will find a way to get a hold of your ISP and say, this guy doesn't belong on the internet, remove him all, knock him off the internet, because that's what they do. That's what they're trying to do to Dutch Sense right now. Okay. Government's trying to get that dude off the air because they don't like how he's exposing corruption. So. But and I'll say it again. If you can't speak freely, you're simply not free. And we know on YouTube you can't speak freely. Because if I say I get trolls inserting the F at the beginning, I get flagged. So we already know there's no goddamn freedom of speech on YouTube, right? It doesn't fucking exist. So, I know I'm repeating myself, but Moneygraph also in his video, the powers that be, believes that someday you're going to need a license to be on the internet so they can control you. And if they don't like what they say, they're going to knock you off the internet. Do I believe it's possible? Without a fucking doubt, I believe it's possible. We have gotten so far away from the original Constitution of the United States that it isn't funny. We have allowed non-natural born citizens to hold the office of president. Okay? You know, and then all these things the government has done. And I will say this. Let's not forget this. People want to say that the certain thing that happened in September was an inside job. In a way it was. Because who the fuck trained Osama bin Laden? Who the fuck 10 to 15 years earlier helped him get his power? Who the fuck gave him ammunition, training, and all that shit? About 10 to 15 years before the certain plane incident happened. And then he used that training to supposedly attack us. So even if it wasn't an inside job directly by the U.S. government, it's still an inside job because we trained that asshole. We gave him power. Think about it. So whether it was a U.S. direct inside job or not, or if he came over and attacked us because he was pissed off about this country, either way, it was still a U.S. inside job. Now, if I come on YouTube once YouTube is licensed, and you need a license to blog and say shit like that, I get a letter in the mail saying, Emo, you just been revoked. Thank you. Good night.